Hello and welcome to Balanced Success. I'm Stephana Johnson and we are going to laugh, we're going to learn, and we're going to leave a legacy leading a business and a life we love. I'm excited today because I have a very special guest, Dr. Janelle Alex, and she is going to share with us how to create balanced success in our lives when you are married to your business partner and you are working together. This is definitely something I want to learn more about. So welcome, Janelle. I'm so excited to have you with us.
Oh, thank you. It's always good to see you, Stephana.
I know. By the way, she is a dear friend of mine, and I'm so lucky to call you my friend, and of course, your beautiful, wonderful husband. I'm so pleased to know you both. You're wonderful people. So this is a hot topic because first of all, having success in your own business is one thing, but then you bring in having your partner, your husband, be in the business with you, and that just seems like it's adding fuel to the fire.
Good and bad, right?
There you go. Well, tell us about that.
Well, first of all, I also want to just share for any of you out there listening that if you're like, well, wait, my husband's or my partner's not in business with me. Well, guess what? If you are in a committed relationship, you're in business together because there's a business aspect to our romantic partnerships. There just is.
Well said.
But, I started out being an entrepreneur. I started my first company at 19 years old, so like 25 some years ago, something like that. And then my husband, actually, I didn't know him at the time, but he started before that because he was a teenager as well. So when we got married, I was actually 30 by then, 31, something like that. And then within a year and a half, this brand new marriage and a blended family, so we both had sons, we decided to buy what had been his family's business. And boy, oh boy, what a shift. I still had my company at the time, mind you, but it was a shift because I was used to being the big cheese. I made the decisions. I didn't have to answer to a partner. I had staff and parents of the students I worked with, but I didn't have to answer to a business partner. So all of a sudden, there was that piece that had to come in, and we had to figure out our strengths and our weaknesses and realize that, we don't even agree on this thing. Do we do it or do we not do it? And hey, you're running this part and you're good at it, so run with it, and I'm not going to try to tell you what to do, and vice versa. So there was a whole different dynamic that came in, and then obviously, when you really love your work, and of course that business was a brick and mortar business that Rob worked around 90 hours a week, and I was working close to 50 hours a week there, and running my other company, which was probably still around 30, 40 hours a week, and at that time, I was working on I don't think I was working on my graduate education when we first started, but I was working on my undergraduate.
Wow.
Oh my God. And we had kids, and I was doing, I was PTO president, and it was a little much. But how do we go from that and be able to shut that off enough to still have our romantic relationship too? So obviously, that's all about balance.
And so what's the secret? Because here you are, you're talking about you're back in school, you're in school, you've got children, you've got business A and you've got business B, plus you have your own personal health and well-being, and then you've got a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, where do you start? How do you even fit it all in? Wow.
Yeah. And honestly, in those early stages, there were a lot of bumps. And of course, so obviously we've been down that road. We know what it's like to go, you're making me angry, and all we do is talk about business. And I remember some of those days when I would work at the center on the weekends with him, especially there were certain weekends that he would work close to 23 hours at a time straight. And we had a particular employee that would have come in, and we would get about an hour and a half on Saturday afternoon that we would at least get out of the center together, and we would go and eat pizza. There was this little pizza shop in our hometown where we were at the time that we almost always went to. It was just a place we could kind of relax, but you know what? Often we found ourselves dozing off waiting on our pizza to be delivered to the table.
Wow.
So, there were such struggles, and when he worked that many hours and came home so late, and then off so early the next morning, the sex life was challenging and suffered. So let alone just the emotional aspect of the relationship. So we had to figure out how in the heck can we balance this. One of the things that we did was make sure that we had date night, which, mind you, for a while there, it literally was an hour and a half a week. And that was a tough one, but we still committed to that, even though for those 8-9 months a year, for about 6 years, that was almost the only time we could get during that busy season, but we committed to it every week, even if we dozed off. But then, of course, we would take vacations where it was us without the kids. We would take, full long week vacations, mini vacations. And I know those are kind of bigger pieces. So it was the little things that eventually we also got it set up where Monday evenings, neither one of us worked outside the house. I think I was still teaching dance, but I got off early. And one of the things that Rob would do is he always cooked dinner. He took on that role on Monday evenings, and it was just this thing to kind of compensate because I did it all the rest of the time. So again, it was just this balance, like, well, wait a minute, I'm here now, let me do this. I'm here now, let me do the laundry. Let me take the kids to soccer practice or baseball or whatever it was. Or even in that sense, because Rob coached baseball for our now oldest, well, he was always the oldest, but he's 20 now. I would go to the bowling center and cover for Rob so that he could go to, coach for that evening or whatever to practice. So there were just those times that we had to figure out how can we do this so that we both get what we want, we get our individual pieces, and then how can we find a way to make time for each other. And it really does come back to that point of being committed to it. And I'll laugh and say sometimes you have to pencil in the commitment, the date night. Just if you have to change it, make sure that you're committed to still getting it in like that week.
There is a common thread in everything you've just taken us through, because that journey, knowing you and knowing Rob now, and then feeling that whole experience that you were going through, I was stressed out just listening to it.
It was stressful.
But there was a common thread that I now see, and this is so huge for anyone listening for themselves, and that is you and probably Rob, you both have a common core value of support. You are so supportive just in the little things you were saying, from whether it was the laundry or working, and it's this connected, supportive relationship that makes such a beautiful relationship that you've created. And I get how you created the balance, because within that, so balance, there's a fulcrum. So if there's a balance, there's something holding it stable, and that base, would you correct me if I'm wrong, but is that your core value, support, like supporting one another? Or connection? This is really key for me, because this fulcrum, as you're talking about the balance, I saw it, and it was never like, oh, well, if this didn't get enough, then we do more. It was no, an hour and a half a week. We got that, and that seemed to balance what you needed, because your fulcrum, your base was so strong.
Yeah.
So can you talk to that a little bit?
Well, I think, and I absolutely agree with you, the way that it comes out of us is that we use it in terms of honoring each other. So I honor myself, and of course, Rob honors his self. We honor our sons, which of course now we have 3, 2 grown men, and then our young little guy. But we honor each other, which seems obvious, right? We probably think about that more than anything else. You talk about relationships, like, oh, you got to honor your spouse or your partner. Of course we do. But don't forget yourself, and then don't forget to honor the relationship as though it is its own entity. Because really your couplehood, your coupleship, whatever you want to call it, it's got its own life. It is a piece. You are something when you're together. You are the couple. It's its own, it's like that third thing. So it's that triangle. So you have to support all of it. And if you talk about the triangle, then each person in the relationship has to hold up the couple. And I think that is so, so key. So yes, it really does depend on what it is. And I know here we're talking about, we have these businesses, and I still have mine at that time, my other one. And there was such great support. And that's one of the reasons that I didn't go back to college until Rob and I were married, because a couple of reasons. But one of those is because I didn't have the spousal support before, because Rob and I are both married previously. And my first husband, and sometimes I could say, yeah, he was a jerk. I've come a lot past that, though I don't like him, but hey. But there were definitely times in that relationship, because I had a business and he had a job he liked, but it was a job. And so there was a jealousy factor at times, and therefore he didn't fully support what I did. And I know us women sometimes face this no matter how successful we are, but we face that piece of, oh, honey, nice little job that you have, or your little hobby that you have. Though, like I said, I was very successful and did, yeah, it was great. I loved what I did and taught like 2,500 students over the years. It was amazing. So you have to have that respect, because my position, my company at that time wasn't respected by my then husband. And guess what? In that situation, when I said, I can't take anymore, I'm done, and it was a 10-year marriage, and I walked out, I took my son and said, we're done, we can't handle for so many reasons. And I doubled my income the next year.
Wow.
So it's about having support. So then we have that other story, Stephana, which I know you know this about me, but we have the story where, we hit the recession, Rob and I did, and we lost everything in the end. We were doing all those things. I made that long list at the beginning. And we had been very successful. We had traveled. We'd done many things. And then we hit this recession. Long story short, we lost it all, even the home we lived in. Lived in a garage for a couple years. Oh, my gosh. But we, at that time, had already begun to implement the strategies, the methods, the tools that we now use, and, of course, have evolved, and we have new ones, and we create more. But to how to get through those tough times, whether it's working together or whether it's, oh, my God, everything's gone. We don't even have a house to live in. My car's gone. What do we do? So, we grew closer as a couple at that time, as well as a family. And when I say family, because we lost some of our extended family, turned against us, and it's an important story right now, but our sons, the 5 of us, grew tighter as a family amidst financial catastrophe and materialistic loss. So it's about honoring. Again, it goes back to that. It's the fulcrum. It is absolutely balanced. So, oh my gosh, how can we balance this? And now we don't have any money. How can we even do things together and still, have quality time together? And of course, that's easy. Kind of can go back and think, well, now we can sit around and play board games or whatever. But it is so important to recognize those things. And Stephana, I would guess that you would agree, but it's so vital that we know who we are. I have to know who Janelle is. If I don't know who I am, if I'm not connected to me, one, I'm not going to be able to respect myself, honor me. And then how is my husband going to be able to do that and honor me?
So what tools do you use to connect to you? Because as you were saying, it's an evolution. We're evolving every single day. We know this about each other because having friendships, we're evolving. I mean, I'm not the same woman I was a year ago. You're not. And here we are in these moments. What tools do you use to cultivate a closeness with yourself, an awareness of your sense of self?
Well, I'm going to say for me, I have a weekly, I say meditation. I actually do a shamanic journey. I know meditation's a more common term, so I'm going to say it that way. But because mine, I tweak it. It's my own little thing, the way I do it. But that's on my calendar. So my Google Calendar, it pops up on my phone and reminds me about 10 minutes till. I'm like, oh, I got to go do that at, Monday at 3 o'clock. And then we have a very interesting piece because Rob loves to hear, what did you get? What came through for you? I'm happen to be very connected on that spiritual level. I get a lot of stuff, a lot of things come through, and so many of them are validated. And so it's a fun piece. And when Rob gets a connection, whether he does a meditation or he does, gets a visit from one of his spirit guides, he gets those during, I call it the dream state. He says that's a visit. we say it a little differently. My psychology background kicks in, and I go, but it's the dream state. I'm not saying it's a dream. Anyway, so, again, we love sharing about those. So for us, that's part of our spirituality. It's the non-religiously focused spirituality. It's what makes sense to us, and it's a piece that even though we disagree on some of our spiritual beliefs and so forth, we love to have the conversations. So that's one piece. Another tool that we absolutely use, and let me tell you, this was a life changer. It was a game changer for our relationship, and as I said, a life changer just on an individual level. We let go of the need to be right. That's a big one, because that means you got to set the ego over there somewhere. Get away, drop kick. So I'm like, oh, wow, I seriously disagree with you. And then I'm like, okay, so let me try to see this from your perspective. I may never change my mind, and I don't have to, but if I can see it from his perspective, or maybe it's a client, maybe it's a business partner, maybe it's a colleague, it could be. It opens the door to new creative possibilities.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's a huge piece.
I mean, you're like flashing lights. It is really a big one. The other one that I would say, if I were to say three things off the top of my head, is our sex life. So having a very spiritually focused sexual relationship and making... learning how to move into transcendent lovemaking. Now, mind you, this isn't, it does have some tantric principles, but sometimes we think of that, it's always soft and very, I'm going to wear some weird robe and whatever. That's great, you can do that. But it can also be very much, rip your clothes off and have a very hot, sexy, moment. And it can be very playful and you're cracking up and giggling. So it's any kind of lovemaking, and it doesn't even have to be, oh, we really had sex, whatever your definition of that might be. So we have a practice that we have in place there, and it's part of what we teach about as well. It connects us further on the spiritual level. It connects us to our spirit guides. But Stephana, a big key for me is that our sexual energy is more than about our sex life. Our sexual energy is about our creative force. It is our life force. So not just as women, but speaking from a female perspective, being connected to my sexual energy, I feel sexier, I feel more confident, I have more ideas, and then, I'm more interested in a sexual relationship with my husband. But I think those things are really, really important to keep everything in better perspective. And when all of those things are in place, and that's just three things, I know, but when those things are in place, your business is more successful. Your family life, in that sense, is more successful. And though people might go, oh, if I have a great sex life, it affects my kids, you betcha, because you're happier, and that ripples out. And so now your kids actually are happier. They might not know why, but, it has this beautiful experience that it's the pebble, dropping the ripple in the pond, right?
Absolutely. And it's interesting because you do focus on date night. I mean, that's what you do with your husband. Your business is helping couples rekindle and transform their relationships. And that is so important because it, like you said, it absolutely is a catalyst to everything else going on. If we were to look at the as concentric circles, you said that connection with yourself is fundamental. And then it is clear here that the connection with your beloved is the next concentrics. And then you were talking about the 5 core of your family, that's the next concentric circle, and that moving out, but still having that core underlying value of the support, the honoring, which are all really, those are the same, connecting, honoring, supporting. Those are so intertwined that I really get that how we can balance and have balanced success in every area of our life is to have that core piece in place, that it does start with us, that although it does start with us, that we also have that give and take, as you're describing. And then when you were describing how Rob, you not needing to be right, and you in Rob's dream state, well, it's not a dream state, it's his own viewpoint of it, but there was always a place of honoring his viewpoint. So I have to express that and tell you how much I honor that, because what I've learned from just listening to you in this time is that that is so valuable, and to see how it's carried you both through such times
Mhm.
that some people would not have made it through. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
you've not only made it through, you've just thrived, and both of you, and to see the two of you together, and to see how many people you've helped, not to mention that you've actually written a book that's
Yeah.
so amazing. I mean, that book is so fantastic, and I really hope that more people can experience that. Look at that. That's fantastic. Yes. Because, well, you tell us about putting that book together and how that has enhanced your success of being able to express
Yeah.
your message.
It was wonderful. Actually, I think, Stephana, you and I were at the same business seminar when the idea came to me. But yeah, I just had this idea. I was like, wait, we're doing all these amazing things, and we write sexy challenges, and we have different things out there. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, we have to share for other entrepreneurial couples. And how can we get these amazing pieces of advice out there? So what came to me was that I needed to bring together a number of other entrepreneurial couples and interview them and share their stories, their backstories, as well as their words of wisdom. So we did. We came up with 22 other couples, and we had some amazing people. We're talking about from small mom and pop families and businesses from our hometown that we grew up knowing who they were. They did, they're photographers, from our dentists in up around Denver, Colorado that we'd had for a couple of years, to multi-million-dollar owners of corporations and so forth, as well as huge experts in the relationship field, which is Kay and Katie Hendricks. So, or did I say it? I would do that wrong. Gay and Katie. I feel so bad.
That's all right. It's good.
Like I know them and I just script their names. But anyways, so, they're, of course, well-respected in those circles, and many others. There's just two well-known names. But, there's so many different ones. And so we brought them together. And like I said, one of the first things that I did was I wanted their story. So I actually have their love story in there. And then we have some just amazing insight and words of wisdom. One that stands out for me time and time again is from friends of ours, Rhonda and Brian Swan. And they talk about, if you have this crazy idea, if your partner's like, oh my gosh, this is the way to do this, and the other partner's like, you are nuts. Listen, because it might just come to fruition in time, and it might be the most amazing thing ever in your life, which for them happens to be traveling around the world all the time. And it was Brian's idea, and Rhonda thought he was nuts. And there's another story on the other flip side of that. So now they travel the world with their daughter that's just about the same age as our youngest. She's 8. So, it works. And so if you listen, instead of just going, oh, you are crazy, that will never work. Listen, again, I said it earlier, it opens the door to new possibilities, new ideas. But that works if you listen to your kids too. So instead of just going, no, this is not what we're doing, which sometimes we have to because, we're parents, we have to set boundaries. But listen, because they have ideas too. And they might have an amazing idea that you hadn't thought of for whatever that may be. So it's about honoring and having that commitment to love and honor those around you.
That's so beautiful. That is really it in a nutshell, as far as finding that sense of wholeness and that sense of calm. It comes from honoring yourself, honoring your partner, honoring your dreams, honoring the possibilities, and being open. And that's such a beautiful message. That's such a beautiful message.
Well, and Stephana, again, I would assume that you would agree, knowing a lot of the things that you believe in. When we can't get our word out, when we don't feel like we're being heard, whether it's by our partner or we're not getting our message out in the world, we can end up with throat problems. Mm-hmm. We could have other physical ailments that manifest in that way because we're not honoring the things that we need to be honoring. So, we obviously don't have time to be talking about our chakra system and all these different energetic patterns, but those are so important. So if you're not, another book that I have, but if you're not collaborating with your soul, if you're not partnering up with it, paying attention and getting that out there and doing that then with your husband, your partner, your family, whatever, you're really you're digging yourself an unpleasant hole that you don't want to have to climb out.
Yes, and it creates disharmony. And it creates the imbalance. That imbalance that you were just describing as far as the throat problems, all of that, that is the imbalance, and how you got through such horrific experiences that so many people around the world experienced. And many had illnesses, diseases that just took over their lives. And how I see you coming through it is because you created that balance and you allowed for and honored that within yourself, and were able to bring out a harmony, which is that balance, and creating that. That's success to me, and you are absolutely a balanced success story. Thank you so much for sharing this. It's been so fulfilling for me to be able to hear you and just take you in as, like, from the viewpoint of just hearing you. I've learned a lot. I would love for you to share with our listeners, where can they get that great book, and how can they find out more about you and Rob?
Well, Richer Together, Secrets to Working, Living, and Loving Side by Side, of course, is available on Amazon. You can get it for your Kindle. You can get it on Barnes & Noble or for your Nook. It's actually, if you have iBooks on your iTunes, you can get it there. I mean, at Google Play, I think. I wouldn't guarantee. I know a lot of our stuff's on Google Play, and I think that one's out there. Because Rob, that's one of his strengths. That's his part where he puts it all out there. I'm like, I don't know, it's everywhere. So those are great places to, of course, get it. And then if you just visit us, the easiest place to find all of our social media and just about everything about us is missiondatenight.com. You'll find access to our podcast and, all those different pieces that we have there. So if you simply go, your mission, because I always give everybody a mission, but your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to go to missiondatenight.com.
Yay! That's awesome. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. Okay, huge hugs, my sweet girl.
Oh, you too, honey.
All right, darling. Signing in, everyone. This is Stephana Johnson. You've been watching Balanced Success. Laugh, learn, leave a legacy, leading a business and a life you love. Until next time, peace and blessings.